completed his B.Tech from NIT Bhopal, and then he completed his MS from Germany. And he worked in Maruti Suzuki for a year and 3 years in Germany. He connected to ISKCON Ujjain in 2011 during his NIT days in Bhopal, and in 2020 um, he joined ISKCON Ujjain, and he was the last personal servant of His Holiness Bhakti Swami Guru Maharaj in Deland. And apart from this, his contributions in ISKCON Ujjain, he's involved in various youth preaching programs in Ujjain, and he's working in ISKCON Ujjain's publications. And he's also cultivating elite professionals in ISKCON Ujjain. And apart from this, Chandramoli Maharaj was recently telling the best part of Advaita Acharya Prabhu is he's one of the grandsons of OBL Kapoor. He was a disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he comes in that legacy. So we'll have Advaita Acharya Prabhu at 6 p.m. sharp. So till then, I would request the host to kindly share the lecture of His Grace Aindra Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
We don't have any qualification to attain anything worthy of attainment by any other process than the process which was advocated and ordained for the deliverance of the fallen conditioned souls in this Kali Yuga. It's a very simple, logical, reasonable, rational, sensible, philosophical conclusion. We are not fit to perform meditation. Even we are not fit in Kali Yuga to perform Astakali Alila Smaran. It is not within our capacity, practically speaking. We can boast of some, hopes and aspirations to do these things. But according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Ragbart Machandrika, he says that even though Smarana is one of the main angas of Raganuga Sadhan Bhakti, still that cannot be possibly achieved without performing Sankirtan of the holy names of Krishna. There's no possibility to achieve the superlative result or the completion of any other anga of devotional service without coupling it with the Yuga Dharma in this age of Kali, Harinam Sankirtan. Therefore, stress is given by our acharyas about the necessity to engage in the performance of Harinam Sankirtan. So humility means to recognize that as we are Kali Yuga rejects, we are not qualified for any other activities. We're not qualified for karma. We're not qualified for gyan. We're not qualified for yoga. We're not qualified for meditation. We are not qualified for performing big jagyas. Costly, gallons and gallons of ghee. We're not qualified to perform opulent deity worship. What can we offer the deities? Some plastic trinkets. Where's the gold? Where's the diamonds? Where are the rubies? Where are the sapphires? Where's the immense wealth that is actually required for performing opulent deity worship? We are not qualified. None of us are qualified. It doesn't matter, PhD, MA, MBBS, whatever it may be. You are not qualified. You and I We are not qualified to do any action other than the performance of Sankirtan Yajna. To the extent that you are humble, to that extent you'll realize the need to engage your invaluable human form of life, your time and energy, in the performance of Sankirtan Yajna, and also in the performance of other corollary activities which will help to foster your attachment to the performance of the Yuga Dharma Nam Sankirtan. Therefore, we engage in deity worship, we engage in Bhagavad Shravan, we engage in Prasad Seva, we engage in Mandira Marjan, etc. Because these things also help us. They're meant to help us, but if we are niyamagraha in our approach, then it means we don't know the purpose for the things, purpose behind the things which we're doing. We don't know that the purpose of the deity worship is to increase our attachment to the chanting of the holy names. We don't know that the purpose of hearing Bhagavad is to increase our attachment to the chanting of the holy names. We don't know that, let's say, living in or serving in a nice, clean temple, therefore Mandira Marjan. The purpose of the thing is to facilitate our congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna. The purpose of our management is to facilitate the congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna. The purpose of our sadhu sangha is to remind each other about the importance of chanting the holy names of Krishna. In Kali Yuga, there is no other dharma than the chanting of the holy name. It is the supreme anga of devotional service. It is the supreme aspect of the principle of Jaiva Dharma. Therefore, humility. Realize that you'll never get taste if you don't do it. You'll only get taste for chanting the holy name by chanting the holy name. There's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. Kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyata. Only one way. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. We must take this seriously if we actually want to make progress to the goal of Krishna Prema. So therefore, Trinada Pisunichana. Toror Iva Suhishnana. What does that mean? Tolerance. Tolerance like the tree means standing up against all odds. Whatever it takes for us to get it right. Even if innumerable people criticize us for just being, oh, that's just Harinam. We want that money. We want the book scores. We want the big temples. We want to see something practical, which will gratify our pragmatic mindset. Don't be so idealistic. Chanting Hare Krishna will solve all your problems. That's a little simplistic, isn't it? Yes, it's simple for the simple. Simple for the simple. Those who can simply understand what it is that Srila Prabhupada actually came to give us. Everything else is ultimately superfluous if we don't develop an attachment to the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. If we develop attachment to the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, and we serve to help everyone else develop that attachment to the chanting of the holy name, then everything else starts to make sense. So, standing up against all odds. Toror Iva Suhishana. Amanena means not desiring to be recognized as having the fitness for anything else than the congregational chanting of the holy name. And Manadena means to respect everyone else in terms of their real self-interest. Their real self-interest is to get prema. And the recommended process for every living entity in this Kali Yuga for getting prema is the congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna. Therefore, Amanena, Manadena, and then put it to practical reality. Kirtaniya Sadahari. Kirtaniya Sadahari means to always be engaged in performing kirtan of the holy names. Primarily the holy names. Nam, Rup, Guna, and Lila. These things are all there. Within Nam is included Rup, Guna, and Lila. It's almost time for my Super Soul class to be over.
So everyone chant Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
But it's not over yet. I still have a couple of minutes left to wrap it up. So therefore, Yasya Deve Para Bhaktir, Yata Deve Tatha Guru. If one has faith, that kind of faith, in Nam, Kali Kali Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar. When it says Yasya Devi, it means Yasya Nama. Having faith in Nam, and similar faith in the words of Sri Guru, who is representative of the holy name of Krishna. Then, of course, Para Bhakti ultimately means Rag Maya Bhakti. Para Bhakti, there's Apara Bhakti and Para Bhakti. Apara Bhakti means Bhakti which is still conditional or contaminated by the influence of the modes of material nature. And then there's Para Bhakti, which is transcendental to the modes of material nature. So for one who has implicit faith in Nama and in Nam Guru, implicit faith, meaning transcendental faith, not just faith, but transcendental bhakti. It doesn't say Yasya Devi Para Shraddha, it says Yasya Devi Para Bhakti. Transcendental bhakti, transcendental, spontaneous, unalloyed devotion. If one has this transcendental, loving devotion to Sri Harinam, Nami, and Sri Gurudev, then what happens? Kasyaite katita hyarta prakashantai mahatmana. That all the imports of the revealed scriptures are automatically revealed from within by the grace of Chaita Guru, the super soul aspect of Lord Krishna situated within the heart. So, are there any questions?
There's a comment.
Or comments?
We'd just like to thank Aindra Prabhu for reminding us the real purpose why we are here. To be attached to the holy name. Without being attached to the holy name, we'll not be able to please the Supreme Lord and His representative, Srila Prabhupada. So big Haribol for Aindra Prabhu and the holy name. That's not loud enough. One more time. Haribol! Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki! Dhanyawad. Any question?
Any question?
Here.
Again, thank you for reminding us of our Supreme Goal, Prabhuji.
Radhe, Radhe.
But as you said, this is the Yajna for Kali Yuga. As we know, like you remind us, and again in class we hear this, that this is the Supreme Goal and this is Yajna for a Kali Yuga. So, like conditions also, as our restriction or our whatever, we are not able to perform it like 24 hours or whatever. So what should we do? Like at least we should do that time or this much time Harinam. Like we chant our 16 rounds or so called trying to chant 16 rounds. So other than what we should do practically, like we should do Harinam, at least like congregational chanting for how many hours or what, that we should get some taste somehow or other in whatever.
Like I said, we are all very sick because we still have so many anarthas, and the point that I was beginning to raise, which maybe got diverted from slightly, that the anarthas which arise from offenses against the holy name go on all the way up till Vastu Siddhi, when you get your spiritual body in the Leelas of the Lord. And the main difficulty is maintaining material attachments even after understanding so many instructions, and not having complete faith in the chanting of the holy name, which is counted as one offense, the 10th offense against the holy name. That is basically the root cause of all of our problems. Because we do have ample opportunity for sadhu sangha. Anyway, at least if you seek, you shall find. But then, what do we do with that sadhu sangha? Sadhu sangha primarily means to hear from the sadhu, or to inquire, and then naturally we'll hear some instructions, and then those instructions, if we don't, free ourselves up from the material attachments, which obstruct our absorption in the chanting of the holy name, which disallow us from actually sufficiently performing the yajna so that we can actually gain the tangible experience of the efficacy of its performance. People who are, let's say, on the ethereal platform or on the mental platform or intellectual platform even, they may understand theoretically by hearing from sadhus that congregational chanting will solve all our problems, both material and spiritual. Material well-being follows spiritual well-being. So the solution to the problem is not a material solution, it's a spiritual solution to engender spiritual well-being. Then all of our material problems will also be solved. But if we don't apply ourselves to the process due to our lack of faith, then it's like catch-22, it's a vicious circle. You don't gain the experience by which your faith is solidified. But by engaging sufficiently, because after all we're very sick, we need a certain regimen. Just like there are certain prohibitions, contradictions, or contraindictions, where there's something that you should not eat, and you should only eat so many times in a day, or maybe you should eat more. It's just like one of our kirtan devotees, Adi Ras Prabhu, he has a disease called hypoglycemia, which means he has low blood sugar. Low blood sugar means that if he doesn't eat more, then his blood sugar goes down. So also we need certain sweetness running through our blood in the form of the Madhurya Nam, relishment of the sweetness of Harinam. So we have to take more. It's just like if you're very sick, if you have pneumonia, for example, and you think that, well, I can go on eating whatever I want, And I don't like this bitter medicine, because of the jaundice-like tongue. I don't like to chant Hare Krishna. I have no taste. It's like bitter. Rock candy becomes bitter. The example is given of a man diseased with jaundice. But the only solution to the problem is not that by taking one antibiotic tablet, every other month, that you're going to get, well from your pneumonia condition. It's not that just by taking one little drop of sugarcane juice and, oh, that's too bitter, I can't tolerate it. So then you're not going to solve the problem by not taking the medicine. Therefore, Vaidhi Bhakti. What is Vaidhi Bhakti? Vaidhi Bhakti means you must rise early in the morning during the Brahma Muhurta hours where you get 1,000 times the benefit of your Nam Bhajan and come to the Mangalarti. There's a conch shell blowing. Conch shell blows. Why? It's to assemble everyone. For what? To do eye exercises with our jelly eyeballs, Google-eyeing the deities? That's what we're coming for? All right, on one level, okay, something's better than nothing. But the real principle is we're coming before the deity so that the deity will see us happily engaged in chanting and dancing, engaging in Nam Sankirtan. The morning program is set up to facilitate everyone's absorption in Sankirtan Jagya, the congregational chanting of the holy name. Therefore, there's need to do more Hare Krishna mantra chanting to facilitate, instead of spending the whole Mangalarti chanting everything else, and then maybe 10 or maybe 5 or maybe only 3 Hare Krishna Maha Mantras tagged on at the end. You'll never get a taste for doing Maha Mantra Sankirtan by doing it that way. At least half of the Mangalarti should be spent. If there's 20 minutes or 25 minutes, at least 10 or 15 minutes should be chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And that was Srila Prabhupada's instruction. Not that we carry on and on, with everything else. More time should be spent chanting, and even if it goes over a couple of minutes extra because, we got at least 15 or 20 minutes worth of announcements to announce. We can't chant Hare Krishna for 2 more minutes because we got to follow the rule to make room for our announcements. Anyway, that was an unpaid for political announcement by Aindra Das. But nevertheless, the principle should be well taken. I'm not angry at anyone, because sometimes announcements are actually necessary. But chanting Hare Krishna is also very necessary. So therefore, I prefer to advocate that let's spend more time. If we want to save room for the announcements, then chant a little less of the other things so that you have more time to chant Hare Krishna. Then, at least for a few minutes in the morning, when you're getting 1,000 times the benefit during the Brahma Muhurta hour, you're performing Maha Mantra Sankirtan in the association of the devotees. And, after all, Srila Prabhupada's mercy upon us here in Vrindavan is that there is a 24-hour kirtan where Maha Mantra Sankirtan is going on 24 hours a day. So make time. Find it within your heart. Give till it hurts. Give the necessary time to do the jagya, take your medicine, and start experiencing what it's like to get well. To get, the sweetness of Harinam instead of the bitterness on account of our disease, jaundice-like condition. Then, problem is solved. Do more Harinam Sankirtan and do more and more japa, as much japa as possible, because after all, japa is the life and soul of Nam Sankirtan. It's the strength of our Nam Sankirtan. is the basis of our personal purity, by which we can hope to perform empowered Nam Sankirtan for the pleasure of our spiritual masters and Krishna. Is that a little useful? Anything else before we wrap it up? Yes, Brajananda Prabhu. Don't forget, Prasadam is starting pretty soon.
For a holy name, you told that we are qualified only for chanting holy name. The meanings behind that is that our qualification for everything is qualification for chanting of holy name.
No, the qualification is to realize that you're not qualified for anything else but. That is the actual qualification. As long as you're thinking that you're qualified for something else, that indicates a lack of humility, a false pride in oneself. And on account of that false pride, one will lack taste for chanting the holy name due to false pride. So therefore, solution is chant more. Realize that we have no other, that there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way in this age of Kali. And Krishna will help from within. He'll lift the veil of Yoga Maya and allow you to actually see the true form of the holy name within your heart. Actually, the vast majority of us are so fallen and wretched Kali Yuga rejects that we are not even qualified for chanting the holy name because of that element of false pride. We're so fallen. Therefore, Prabhupada said that he's straining his brain to find other engagements for us. Why? Because we don't have a taste for chanting the holy name. Other engagements. We're so fallen, so unqualified. If we at least had a little understanding and actually took shelter of the process of Nam Bhajan, Nam Sankirtan, then we would gradually start to become more and more qualified. Prabhupada is, I read it myself. Tamal Krishna Maharaj told me about the conversation. Unfortunately, I can't find it on folio anymore, so I don't know what happened to it. But there was a statement, and I personally read it because Tamal showed me the thing. I just can't remember where it was, or else it's been removed or something, or I just can't remember the actual word to punch in to, have the thing surface in the folio. But there was a statement where Srila Prabhupada said that actually our only real business is to sit in the holy dham and chant the holy names of the Lord. But because you have no taste for this, therefore I'm pushing you for so many other engagements like opening temples and restaurants and so many other engagements. Because we have no taste for sitting in the holy dham and chanting the holy names. We don't have any taste for our real business, our only real business. We have taste for everything else, but we don't have much taste. But actually, although other engagements like Mandira Marjan, cleaning the temple, and performing deity worship, and going out on book distribution, and so many other engaging in life membership program as Prabhupada inaugurated that. All of these engagements, for the purpose of gradually purifying our heart so that eventually we'll have enough spiritual intelligence to realize that we should be chanting more and more in order to actually experience what it's like to taste, in a practical sense, the holy name of Krishna. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we have with us His Grace Advaita Acharya Prabhu, who will be sharing the presentation and as well as glorifying His Grace Aindra Prabhu. Over to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about His grace and the Prabhu. So, are you able to hear me and see the PPT?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, personally speaking, His grace and the Prabhu has been a great inspiration in my life. I can say it very boldly that in my initial days of Krishna consciousness, when I was in Germany, then it was Aindra Prabhu and his kirtans and his Vani that actually inspired me to pursue devotional activities and devotional service. And not just me, his life is inspiration for many, many devotees across the whole world, and they are still getting a lot of inspiration from him. So we have less time, so we'll try to see. We'll try to just know something about his life. I heard some lectures about him, and I read something about him. So I'll just try to share that. Um, so before coming to Krishna consciousness, his name was Edward Stryker. Date of birth is 12th of March 1953. He was born in Virginia, USA. Very interesting thing is that we all know that Andrew had a great attachment and great attraction for music. And his whole family actually, they were musicians. His father, his mother, his brother, everyone was a musician. So he got those characteristics, those instincts from his family also. And then obviously he used those qualities in the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So how he met devotees. So it is described that in the 1970s, he was out on the streets, and at that time there was a Harinam Sankirtan party which was doing Harinam on the streets. I think it was in Washington DC, and the Prabhu, or actually Edward Stryker, he actually saw those devotees and he was so inspired because he was already a musician, and he used to like music, and he was searching for something spiritual in life also. And as soon as he heard this Hare Krishna mantra, it had a very deep impact on his consciousness. And he thought that, no, I should try to understand what is this. So he joined the devotees and he joined the Harinam party. And doing Harinam, they went into the temple. And he also came into the temple, and then he started associating with devotees. So basically, he got the association of devotees and he got the taste for Harinam, which which made him attracted to to this process of Krishna consciousness. And from then he started, going and participating in Harinams. And then he met Srila Prabhupada. He got to know about Srila Prabhupada, and he got initiated. And Srila Prabhupada gave him a very transcendental name, Aindra Das, Aindra Prabhu. And then obviously he's now the whole world knows about him. So he was initiated on Nityananda Trayadashi, and after initiation, his only service actually was doing Harinams. He used to very much like doing kirtans because he was very much into music. So in 1981, he joined the Brooklyn Temple. So I have heard about him that he had some material attachments. I mean, there were some things in his life, like I think there was a girlfriend, Prabhu and the Prabhu's girlfriend, and but somehow he had a devotional inclination, but the girl didn't have you know devotional qualities. So now there was, like, although he wanted to be in the relationship, but the other thing was like he has Guru and Krishna in his life, and now he has to choose whom he should take shelter of. Either Guru Krishna or the relationship with that girl. So he was trying to manage both, but somehow it was not working out. So then one day he made a decision that actually he asked his girlfriend that, would you also like to join this movement and participate in this mission of Sankirtan? But she was not ready for that. So Aindra Prabhu decided that this life I want to dedicate, I want to surrender for the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So then Aindra Prabhu decided, and he went into the temple, and he was not in any ashram, like he was not a brahmachari, but so I think one time there was a devotee who asked him, uh, because he used to wear clothes in such a way that nobody could understand what kind of ashram is this. Because it was a different kind of clothing he was wearing. So one senior devotee, I think, he asked Aindra Prabhu, which ashram do you belong to? Basically, he was asking what kind of clothes you are wearing. So Aindra Prabhu told him, I'm in Brahmastha Vanyasi. So all the four ashrams, Brahmastha Vanyasi. So in this way, Aindra Prabhu, he came to Brooklyn Temple. He joined the Brooklyn Temple 1981, and until 1986, he was serving in the temple. He was a very humble devotee, and he used to serve in he used to do a lot of menial services also. But his most important service was doing Harinam. So there is one very interesting pastime. There was one person who gave a big donation to Aindra. I'm not sure of the amount, but it was a very big donation. And what Aindra Prabhu did, he bought a big truck with that donation. A big truck, In America, you have seen there are big, big trucks. And he bought one of those trucks, and he converted that truck into a moving temple. So there is a famous photo. If you will go and search on internet about Aindra Prabhu, you will see that he converted a bus, a big bus, into a moving temple, and the tires of those trucks were visible in the front. The tires were visible. So in that temple, there were three sections. On the two sides, on the two side sections, there were dioramas. I think one diorama was the birth and death diorama, in which that a person, a child, and then a grown-up boy, and then old age, and then again death. That birth and death diorama. And on one side there was a diorama of a person killing the cow, and the person has a head of cow, and that the cow has a head of man, like the action reaction one. So these two dioramas were there. And in the middle section, Andrew used to do Harinam. He has had his setup of the mic and everything, and he used to do Harinams. And this way, You cannot imagine, like when we do Harinam, how long do we perform Harinam? When we do Kirtan, how long we do Kirtan? We do Kirtan for maybe half an hour, or someday if we really want to do Kirtan, we do 1 hour. Maybe on festival days, we do for 1.5 hours or 2 hours. And Prabhu used to do Kirtan for 14 hours a day, and not just one day or on weekends. And Prabhu did 14 hours Kirtan every day. That was his love for Harinam. Uh, that was his dedication. So in this way, he used all of his resources for spreading the movement, for spreading the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. Uh, and the Prabhu had a deep desire to live in the Dham. Actually, he had a great desire for Vrindavan Dham. He had a great attraction and liking for Vrindavan Dham. So although he was living in the Brooklyn temple, he somehow he wanted uh, to live in Dham. And in 1986, he decided and he moved to Sri Dham Vrindavan. I think there was one person who sponsored his ticket from Brooklyn to New Delhi and from New Delhi to Vrindavan. And from 1986, he moved to Vrindavan, and that was his final journey. After that, he never traveled. I mean, he traveled to maybe to Mayapur, but he never moved out of Vrindavan. And the most important contribution of His Grace and Prabhu is that he revived 24-hour Kirtan program at Krishna Balram Mandir. So there is a very interesting story how he got the inspiration to perform the Krishna to perform 24 hours Kirtan. So it is said that in the ISKCON temple in Vrindavan there was an accountant whose name was Kapoor ji, and this accountant once he had a dream. In his dream, Srila Prabhupada came. Srila Prabhupada came in the dream of an accountant. And Srila Prabhupada was crying in the dream and he was saying that I started 24 hours Kirtan in Krishna Balram temple, but somehow it has stopped and now nobody is doing Kirtan. Like this, Srila Prabhupada was saying, and his tears were coming from his eyes. He was crying. So that devotee suddenly, that accountant, suddenly he woke up and he was also feeling that sorrow in his heart. And he also started crying, thinking that Srila Prabhupada came in my dream and he's saying nobody is doing 24 hours kirtan. So he went out of his bed and he went into the temple, and the first person he saw was Aindra. And he went to Aindra Prabhu and he started speaking that Srila Prabhupada came in my dream and he said that he wants to do Harinam Sankirtan, 24 hours Harinam Sankirtan. He was crying that nobody's doing it. He told everything to Aindra Prabhu. Now, what next Aindra Prabhu did, that actually created history. Yeah. That changed the history. So Aindra Prabhu thought that this accountant could have gone to any person and he would have spoken to any devotee about this. But somehow, I think it was the arrangement of Srila Prabhupada that this devotee first came to me. It means that Srila Prabhupada wants to speak to me about this. And he wants me to start the 24 hours kirtan in Krishna Balram Mandir. So Anand Prabhu thought that Srila Prabhupada directly is speaking to him. And he took that instruction very seriously. And that moment only he decided that now I will not go anywhere. Now I will just stay in Vrindavan. So I heard he threw his passport and everything, whatever documents he had, he threw in Yamuna, and he decided to stay in Vrindavan forever. And then he started Kirtan, 24-hour Kirtan. He started to revive. It was a very difficult seva, but I heard that he was very serious about this 24-hour Kirtan program. Here you can see that so many devotees are there around Aindra Prabhu. And initially in the beginning, he faced a lot of trouble to establish this 24-hour Kirtan because he didn't find many devotees to do Kirtan, and sometimes the Kirtan was happening, sometimes it was not happening. Especially at night, there were not enough devotees to perform Kirtan. But then Aindra Prabhu's desire was very strong. We have seen how the desire of a pure devotee, it changes everything. like there was desire of Prabhupada that he wants the Ras Bihari temple in Juhu. And although it was very difficult, it was almost impossible, but it happened because it was desire of a pure devotee. So, so doing this 24-hour kirtan was not easy because devotees were, not that attached to holy name. And in the night, especially, he was not finding devotees to do it every night. But somehow his desire was very strong, and he got the right devotees to do Sankirtan, and he got very dedicated devotees, and he started performing, and they all started performing this 24 hours Kirtan. And the Prabhu was very much like involved in that, and he used to oversee that the Kirtan is going on in the temple or not. Even at night, he did not sleep. He was always thinking, is the 24-hour Kirtan going on in the temple? He was always thinking about this 24-hour Kirtan. And just see like how one instruction of Srila Prabhupada and the Prabhu took so seriously that he's always thinking about just this instruction. So and the Prabhu had recorded many kirtans in the course of doing this 24-hour kirtan. His attachment to holy names, like it was ever increasing, and he recorded many albums. One of the most famous albums is Vrindavan Mellows. I think you all have heard about this album. And the kirtans in these albums, they are like amazing kirtans. And there is one very interesting feature. If you'll hear these kirtans, you will see that there is song of birds, and there is many different kinds of animals are also speaking in the kirtan. So, and the Prabhu said that he used to go to the forest of Vrindavan personally, and he used to take recording instruments, and he used to record the sound of the forest of Vrindavan, and he used that original sounds of the forest of Vrindavan in his kirtans. Vrindavan Mellows. There is one called Vraj Vilas. Then another one called Chintamani. Like this, he made many albums, and these albums are famous all over the world. When I was in Germany, devotees used to hear these albums. He also wrote a book, The Heart of Transcendental Book Distribution, which tells about the role of Kirtan in book distribution. So, and the Prabhu's attachment for the deities is famous all around the world. He used to worship Shri Radha Shyam Sundar in Krishna Balram temple, and he had great taste for Archa Vigraha, and he used to perform this worship of the Lord in a very dedicated way. His attachment to the deities was so much that many deities used to come to him personally. So he had a very famous deity called Nitai Sachi Sutta. Uh, Gaur Nitai deities he had, and he used to take great care of them. Personally, he had around more than 1200 shilas, Shaligram shilas, 1200. And he used to say, there is one video of Aindra where he is in his room and he is worshipping the deities. He used to worship for more than 3-4 hours. He used to take care of his deities, and do this worship for more than 3-4 hours. Can you imagine 3-4 hours of worship, and like massaging the shilas and so many things he used to do, dressing the deities, performing seva, giving the bhoga, on decorating the deities with ornaments. Like this, he did so many services. And he had Shaligram Shilas, he had Gaurnitai deities, he had Govardhan Shilas, he had a deity of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had a deity of Srila Prabhupada, and he had a deity of Gopeshwar Mahadev. I think he had some more deities. I'm not able to recall all the names now, but like all these deities used to come to him personally. He was such amazing devotee. And very special quality about Aindra Prabhu is his faith in not just the holy name but the holy dham also. Like his faith in holy dham was amazing. huh? Like he really felt that he felt like the amount of devotional credits one gets in Vrindavan Dham is 1,000 times more than the devotional credit one would get in anywhere else on this planet. So staying in Vrindavan Dham, one can get 1,000 times more devotional credit than staying anywhere else in this planet. That was the conviction of Aindra Prabhu. So basically, he thought that if I do 1 year of service in Vrindavan, it will be equal to 1,000 years of service in any other place on this planet. So he made a calculation, and that calculation he found out if a person lives for 80 years, and so 1,000 divided by 80 is equal to around almost 13. So, like 1 year of service in Vrindavan will be equal to 13 lifetimes of service in any other place um, in this planet. So that amazing faith and the Prabhu had in the Holy Dham, and he really felt that it was not just theoretical in his mind, uh, but he really felt that great love for the Dham. Also, another very important feature of Andhra is that he was ambidextrous. Like he was a very artistic personality. He built that bus on his own actually. Like I told you that he converted the bus into a temple. So he did that on his own. He was a very creative person. He could use both his hands. He could write with both his hands. He could decorate the deities with both his hands. He could paint the deities with both his hands. He could play instruments with both his hands. He could use both hands for everything. He was a very amazing personality, actually. He was a very intelligent personality and he was highly creative. Uh, I think if somebody has visited his room in Vrindavan, they can see how beautifully he has decorated his room. His room looks like Vrindavan only. His whole room is like Vrindavan. And he removed the hands of the clocks. Like, and the Prabhu used to feel that in Vrindavan there is no time. There is no need of time because time means devotional service will finish. But he felt that devotional service should never finish. 24 hours is not enough for my devotional service. So he removed the hands of the clock and there was no time in his in his room. So that is how he lived actually. There was no concept of time in his life. He was always serving. 24 hours into 365 days, he was serving, serving, and serving. That was his life. And he got one instruction from Srila Prabhupada and he used to carry it out all throughout his life. And he was very humble devotee. It is said that he used to clean the toilets in the bathrooms in ashram. That, like, just imagine, he's a Prabhupada disciple and he is cleaning the toilets and washrooms in the ashram. So he didn't just say things like, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarodapi Sushanana. It's not just about speaking. He used to actually do all these things. And lastly, I would like to tell about his Antarila. So he departed on July 16th, 2010. Many devotees have heard about this, how he left his body. So he was in his room and there was some gas leakage in his room. And Prabhu used to tell in many of his lectures that we all have to surrender to Shishi Gaur Nitai and we should never leave the lotus feet of Shishi Gaur Nitai. He used to tell in his lectures many times. And so one day when he didn't come out of his room, the devotees were worried that every day he used to come for worship, but today he hasn't come for worship. So they went into his room to check. They knocked on the door, but nobody was opening the door. So they kicked the door, and there was a lot of smoke coming out of the room. And they understood that something bad has happened. There has some accident has taken place. Now they were searching for Aindra. So they found out a body which is lying on the floor, and that body is holding the lotus feet of Shishi Gaur Nitai tightly. Uh, so the devotees could not imagine that Aindra Prabhu left his body holding the lotus feet of Shishi Gaur Nitai. So whatever he used to say in his lectures, he personally did it in his life, even at the time of his leaving the body. So in this way, we see how the life of a pure devotee of Lord is glorious. Whatever they say, uh, whatever instructions they get from Guru, they actually uh, uh, take it very seriously and they follow it in their life. Yasya deve para bhakti, yatha deve tatha gurau, tasyaive kathita hiyartha prakashante mahatmana. So he used to live like that, and the Guru was like that. So it is said that in 1976, once and the Prabhu, he met Srila Prabhupada, and when Srila Prabhupada came, he was playing mridanga and singing for Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada saw him, saw and the Prabhu, and he, in his Srila Prabhupada, in his way, he said, Jai, like this he said. And just and the Prabhu saw that Jai, he heard that Jai from Srila Prabhupada, and he thought, Srila Prabhupada wants me to do this Harinam forever. This was the interaction with Srila, and he gave his whole life for the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So I was very amazed to see and hear about Aindra Prabhu, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to say something about Aindra Prabhu. His Grace Aindra Prabhu ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.